Hi, my name is Tuscano from BEd 1A, and here how I understand the communication plan and process. First of all, communication is very important because without it, we cannot attain success or we cannot actually attain our goal because communication is our tool to learning. Now, communication is a whole process. In order to express our thoughts and ideas with someone, there are the elements that need to be there and there are the series of action. To make it simpler, the first one is the sender. The sender is the one who has something to tell. He or she develops an idea to be sent to another person or a group of people, and sometimes the sender are planning information they want to transmit. Sa madaling salita, siya ay mag-uumpisa ng conversation at siya yung magbibigay ng idea sa kanyang kausap. The next one is the message. Once the sender develops an idea, they translate it into a form that can be transmitted to someone else. He or she expresses thoughts of the information they want to send into a certain format. For example, is kapag nagsusulat tayo, minsan isinusulat muna natin yung idea into words para mas maisip or mapaganda natin yung idea na naisip natin at gusto nating sabihin. The next one is transmission or signal. The next one is the transmission or signal. The sender decides how the message will be sent. This involves selecting the most suitable mediums for the message they're relaying. Some communication mediums include speaking, writing, electronic transmission, or nonverbal communication. The nonverbal communication means is kapag hindi tayo gumagamit ng words para makapag-usap or para ma-express yung thoughts natin na gusto nating sabihin, but more on gesture and facial expressions. The next one is the recipient. Recipient is interpreting or trying to make sense of a sender message or binibigyang pakahulugan niya yung mga words na naririnig niya galing sa sender. The exact process of this will depend on the selected mediums. In order for the message to be properly sent, the sender should have selected the appropriate medium that is mentioned on the transmission. To make it simpler, the recipient ay ang ating tenga at utak na naiintindihan ang ating bawat naririnig. The next one is the receiver. After interpreting the message, the receiver then decodes the sender message. In other words, they interpret it and convert it into a thought. After they've done this, they analyze the message and attempt to understand it. The last one is the feedback. The receiver will provide feedback in the form of a reply to the original sender of the message. Feedback provides the recipient with the ability to ensure the sender that their message was properly received and interpreted. Bibigay tayo ng feedback sa sender na na-mention kanina sa receiver, kailangan muna natin i-understand at isiping maayos yung isasagot o yung ibabalik natin salita para mapagbigay tayo ng magandang feedback sa sender. Feedback in communication is the valuable information or response conveyed from the receiver back to the sender of a message. It helps in conveying how well the message was understood and received. Feedback is a crucial element in communication as it enables the sender to evaluate and adjust their message accordingly. Feedback can take various forms including the first one is verbal, such as a spoken response or a comment. Number 2 is nonverbal feedback, including facial expressions, body language, or gestures that include the receiver reaction. Last one is the written feedback, in form of emails, message, or notes. Feedback in communication serves the purpose of fostering clarity and promoting mutual understanding between the sender and receiver. It helps the sender measure whether their intended message was successfully transmitted and if any adjustment or clarification are needed. Additionally, feedback allows the receiver to express their thoughts, opinions, or questions related to the message. The process of feedback contains the following. Number 1. Sender conveys a message. The sender initiates communication by transmitting a message, whether it's spoken, written, or nonverbal. The number 2 is the receiver received the message. The receiver perceived and received the message from the sender through various channels. Number 3 is the receiver provides feedback. The receiver formulates a response or reaction to message. This can be in the form of verbal or nonverbal feedback. The number 4 is feedback is conveyed. The receiver communicates their feedback back to the sender, indicating their understanding, interpretation, or reaction to the message. Number 5 is sender received the message. The sender received the feedback from the receiver, whether it's in the form of verbal acknowledgement, body language, or written response. Number 6 is evaluation and interpretation. The sender evaluates and interprets the feedback received, considering its context and content. Number 7 is adjustments are made. Based on the feedback, the sender can modify their message, clarify any confusion, or providing additional information if needed. The last one is the communication cycle continues. The sender incorporates the feedback into their subsequent message, and the process of communication continues with ongoing feedback loops. In communication, the feedback process forms a continuously cycle that facilitates mutual understanding and enables the effective exchange of information between the sender and receiver. It helps in refining and improving communication by addressing any gaps or misunderstanding that may arise during the interaction. The importance of feedback in communication. There are numerous advantages of feedback in communication. It is an essential part of an effective communication cycle. Good communication requires an exchange of information between a sender and receiver. Without feedback, two-way communication is not possible. Here's why the feedback is of utmost importance in communication in the management. Number 1. Let the sender know a message has been received. The feedback mechanism in communication is important as it confirms the reception of the message by the intended target. This helps the sender know the channel of communication they use was efficient in delivering the message to the receiver. Number 2. Help in decision making. Whether it is positive or negative, feedback is an important catalyst in the decision making process. Positive feedback helps in letting the business person know if customers are satisfied with their products and service. Negative feedback is also helpful as it can be used as constructive criticism to improve and make necessary changes. Number 3. Feedback directs performance. In a company, feedback helps maintaining a sense of accountability in its employees. If a subordinating does a task incorrectly or fails to achieve the desired objective, they are given feedback based on their performance. They can use this feedback to learn and aim for the better result in the future. Number 4 is feedback increase engagement. A good manager understands the use of feedback. They allow suggestions from workers in order to get creative ideas and boost work. When employees know their input and contribution of ideas are taken in consideration, they feel engaged. This ultimately improves the quality of the work done as subordinating. Feels their suggestions matter in the decision making. Number 5 is serve in communicating effectively. The feedback loop allows the sender to identify possible gaps in communication. This information can be used to improve the effectiveness of future message. The sender can make necessary changes to how they deliver the message, the channel they use for a particular target, audience, tone, timing, and etc. Example of feedback in communication. Feedback given by management. After giving a presentation, a manager approaches you and says, "Great job! Your presentation was clear and easy to follow." This verbal feedback acknowledges your effective communication skills and provides positive reinforcement. In a team discussion, a team member expresses their disagreement by saying, "I understand your point, but I have a different perspective on this matter." This feedback offers an alternative viewpoint, promoting a constructive exchange of ideas. During a business meeting, a participant raises their hand and asks for clarification on a specific point discussed. These questions serve as feedback indicating a need for further explanation or understanding. But there can be a barrier to their communication, and that barrier is what we call the noise. The noise can be a physical noise of the surrounding, or it can be a cultural and etc. If the sender and the receiver successfully solve that noise, then the cycle repeats itself, the whole process repeats itself, then that leads to effective communication.